Today, I'm reviewing the first volume for episodes of season 5 of Stranger Things. Let's get into it. So as always now, when I start a review, I like to start the expectation level for a particular piece of film or TV or whatever it is. It's all film. I like to lay down the groundwork of what my expectations were coming into this season. To be perfectly honest with you, any show that goes away for years between seasons and filmings and things, after a while it's out of sight, out of mind for me. Like, I may be pumped and excited after a season, but if you go away for like years, that hype and stuff just goes away. That's me personally. Now, to be honest with you, I kind of figured that this season was probably going to be one season too many for Stranger Things if they're trying to tell a complete story. It's one of these shows that they want to go on forever, which not what they wanted from originally, I think. All right? It wasn't one of those shows that, hey, we can be like Supernatural and go on for like 12, 13 seasons, however long that show lasted. We're going to keep going until they throw us off the air. It's one of those shows that was supposed to have an ending in mind. Did they really have an ending in mind? I question that, but my expectation coming into this was kind of medium. I like these characters over time. I have followed this journey this far and I want to see it through. So it's not like I'm really hyped. I've pretty much forgotten everything that's happened, or most of what happened in the prior season. And I was going to need a refresher anyway. It's not like I was really hyped for another season of Stranger Things. It's just one of those, oh, Stranger Things is on. Let's see what happens. So I'll say my expectation level was medium. So I'll give like a spoiler-free summary of what I thought before I go into complete spoilers. We have 4 episodes. And just as I said about the expectation level, it just feels like to me this show went one season too long. Okay, I feel like it should have ended last season. Now, I watched like a video recap of what happened last season, but if I remember correctly, it was pretty epic to end last season, and I think if they wrote it that to be an end, I know they had another season in mind, and it wasn't going to be the ending, but let's say they came into that season saying that was the last season we're going to do. I think they could have had an epic thing there, ended it there, and it would have been probably perfect. I feel like, and I felt like coming into this season, that the kids are now grown. They're adults now. Does it lose some of its charm now that they're not like kids? I'm looking at some of the old footage of Stranger Things. It's amazing how young they were when this show started. And I know some people joke that some of these guys are like, I'm talking about the core 4 kids, which been Will, what's Finn's character name? I keep forgetting. Lucas and Dustin. Somebody joked that they're full 30 years old now. They're not that old, but they're adults now, and I don't think it has that same something with them being grown now. They're in their 20s now, and I think they're playing maybe 17, 18-year-olds, seniors in high school or something. I do think that they've gone a season too far, personally. But can they make season 5 epic enough to prove me wrong? let's see. Let's get into complete spoilers and analysis here, moving in. Now, I'm not going to go blow for blow, bar for bar, line for line about plot points. I always hit kind of bullet points and analysis on things that stood out for me. And I watched this show on Netflix. I forgot to put that out there because this is only available on Netflix. And it was a few days ago. So episode 1, we pick up in Hawkins with a military presence. And the first thing I have in my notes here after that is they're not kids anymore. Dustin seems to be the only one that kind of looks like his kid self, a bigger version of his kid self. But everyone else just looks like full grown men now. Like when the kids were like picking on Dustin and Lucas comes walking down the hall and he's a full grown yoked man in that situation. That is I was like, wow. These are men now. Also in episode 1, you can still see that competition thing between Steve and Jonathan. And I said maybe the love triangle's still going as they're racing to a tower to fix a signal. Nancy's all business this season to start. And yeah, we're establishing things here in episode 1, trying to picking up where we left off. These kids seem to have a mission in mind and a plan in mind to take down Vecna. I also put in my notes Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton, as part of that military presence in the Upside Down, it seems. And there was getting back to Dustin, like there was a moment in episode 1. Again, Dustin's trying to he's been hit hard by Eddie's death, right? In season 4. He's trying to keep Hellfire alive. And these jocks just seem hell-bent on like getting rid of any symbol that is Hellfire. And Dustin is just like, he's running hard for this Hellfire stuff to the point here he's almost kind of, even though they're antagonizing him, he's kind of poking it back and being antagonistic back toward them, which has caused this whole big conflict between the two. Dustin ends up getting beat down badly at the cemetery at Eddie's gravesite. And I'm like, are there no laws or anything? They're about to kill this kid. I mean, they are beating this kid down. And like they have no regard for life here. And they're about to, like I said, they were about to kill this kid by the way things looked. But they really beat him down badly. Getting to Hopper. I wasn't a big fan of Hopper's Russian like storyline. Him having kind of an old story with the Russian prison, a gulag thing. And I was like, seeing Hopper in this, they're going to make him a big like action star, aren't they? Right? Because now he's kind of a hero or a bigger deal in Hollywood. He's gotten some big roles in some big blockbuster films. They're going to probably use him this season a lot more. And to me, the core of the show has always been those 4 kids. But that's what I put in my notes for in episode 1. But episode 1, it was kind of reestablishing things, how things were going. We got a lot of creepy things, and we get an insight into what's going on there. The kids have like imaginary friends that they're talking to. Our crew has a plan that they think they can execute to take down Vecna for good. They won't. They're hell-bent on getting back to him. 11 is kind of an action star here. She's always been like the powerful person in the group. And I keep saying that the core is those 4 and 11. And you could just see her training and getting ready. And it's Hopper putting her through these trials just to kind of keep her from being a part of the mission. That he's the big bad action hero. He's got to go in and do himself. So, yeah. Episode 1 was kind of establishing things. I wasn't too harsh on it, but it wasn't anything that blew me away in episode 1. And I gave episode 1 a 7.1, which is a solid score on the Hex scale. As we move into episode 2, we get immediately into some action. The Demigorgon. Again, I talked about how kids are having discussions with a mysterious invisible figure. And in episode 2, a Demigorgon shows up at the house of I'm trying to think, are the Wheeler family? Is that their last name? Molly, the kid, is being attacked seemingly by the Demigorgon, but it turns out the Demigorgon is trying to capture Molly. So the big thing to me is like these kids are not kids anymore. Getting back to our core group, and how are they still riding on bikes? That was the thing that got me. I think Nancy was driving in a car, and these kids are trying to race their own bikes. But they're too late to get there because all the action is happening. Demigorgon and Karen, the mother, stands up for her daughter. That maternal instinct coming in, stepping up in front of the Gorgon. And the Gorgon just like sliced her across the gut, seemingly killing her, or at the very least severely wounding her. And the daughter was taken to the Upside Down immediately. And Nancy and the rest of the group arrived too late, and she finds her mother severely wounded and taken to, and they get her to the hospital emergency room, which they do eventually save her life in the hospital. They keep her alive. So she was not killed. I thought in that moment she was dead. Meanwhile, a couple of our Steve and Jonathan are in the van together. Of course, they've been tracking Hopper in the Upside Down for a signal, and they've been kind of venting to one another about Nancy, one calling one out for each of their behaviors. Jonathan telling Steve that he's trying to play the macho act and trying to outdo him in everything just to show he's the big bad man. And Steve points out that Jonathan's been the weirdo that's on drugs and being weird. And after all this venting, Dustin shows up all beaten up. He has a story for it, a fake story that I'm not too sure that they believe. And he missed all the action. This was the episode of the Heart to Hearts, because also 11, who was kept outside of Hopper's mission, did follow the Demigorgon into the Upside Down. Once Hopper and 11 meet up with one another, they have their heart to heart. All right, there's things about Hopper's daughter and him not wanting to protect 11 and not wanting to lose her. And the big reveal at the end of episode 2 was in the hospital. Nancy was able to speak with her mother. Her mother isn't able to speak at that moment, but she's able to write. She asked about Molly, and Molly had been taken. Then they asked questions about the imaginary friend that had been speaking to Molly. And the big reveal was it was Henry all along. It wasn't a good person. Vecna is communicating with these kids that he's going to, and his plan is to take them. For what reason, we don't know. Episode 2. Okay, it didn't give me too much. That opening sequence with the Demigorgon in the Wheeler house was absolutely fun. But after that, this was kind of the heart-to-heart episode where everybody has discussions with one another and get all their stuff out in the air. I felt like I gave this episode a 6.5, which is okay on the Hex scale. As we moved on to episode 3. In episode 3, the episode starts with Hopper and 11 trying to break through the wall. And as I said, they are making out Hopper and big time action hero this episode. We also find out that with Henry being revealed as the imaginary friend, we know Vecna's plan is to capture kids. We still don't really know for what reason he's doing that. And he has specific kids picked out, which we find out at some point that Will can see through the eyes of Vecna and the Demogorgon, and he knows, and see through the eyes of his victims. He knows who Vecna is going after. Okay, we have a sequence in the Upside Down where the military goes up to the wall. They have some kind of like, I describe like a sound wave type thing that breaks down. It makes 11, it completely neutralizes 11. And Hopper is able to get her behind the sign. They go check the wall. They think everything's okay. And then, let's see, my memory's blanking right here. I think they heard something. No, they found a knife of Hopper. And they got them more suspicious to comb the area more thoroughly. And that's when big action hero Hopper comes through, fighting off an army on his own as best he could. And he was doing a good job of holding them off. Eventually, he's able to destroy that thing that's sending out these crazy sound waves. And then 11 takes control and uses her powers. And they take down the military, at least that group. We also, Molly is in this like magical, like whimsical world with Henry, and he's making it out like it's this like nice dream house. We still don't know the reason why she's there, but she's there. Will finds out what the next kid is going to be, which is Derek. And Derek to me matches, and Molly, they match to me what the magic was of Stranger Things. It's these like really young kids who have this like, I don't know, 80s charm to them with the synth wave and all of this stuff going on, and it's this 80s atmosphere. These are kind of the young kids who are kind of more endearing to me than the than our actual group now that they're adults. But yeah, this kid is talking. There's this plan to kidnap the family or knock them out. They put something in the pot to knock them out so they could get that kid to safety. When the Demogorgon shows up to the kid's house, they have the house set up like Home Alone with a bunch of booby traps and things. And the Demogorgon is getting hit with a lot of stuff. Barbed wire, flames, and all of these things. Eventually, it seems that the Demogorgon retreats. But it retreats to go to the exact location where the kid is. And like I said, Derek is a pretty funny kid. He's talking all this stuff. He's playing nice just so he could get away. And then the monster shows up. Then he realizes what they've been saying is real. And that's when things kind of go down. But yeah, they're able to protect Derek in this situation. Meanwhile, in the other world, the prison, so to speak, that Vecna Henry has set up, a letter was sent to the mailbox. There was a knock at the door that Henry took Molly to, and she didn't answer, but there was a letter left that said Henry needed help in another location. Molly goes through the woods, which Henry told her not to ever go through the woods. And at the end of this episode, we get the big reveal. It's Max. And that's how episode 3 ends. And again, this episode was kind of similar to the other episode to me. Again, there's a lot more setup here than action. Not to say setup is bad, but to me, the show is kind of all over the place. It's trying to tell too many stories. And maybe the characters have just gotten too plentiful to tell everybody's story, but it does feel like we're kind of all over the place. Episode 3, I gave a 6.6 okay. Leading us to our mid-season finale. We'll get more episodes Christmas. And the finale, I think, is the new year, which I'm hearing is 2 hours long. Episode 4, the kids have all been rounded up and taken to the military base that they have in Hawkins. And Derek shows up, and they have a plan to bring Derek in there so he can kind of help them out and get some of those the endangered kids to safety. And I write in my notes, this Derek kid is kind of badass. But yeah, their plan is they have a place underneath the base. They come up through the bathroom and they try to lead each kid out one by one through the bathroom to safety. Right? Eventually, I think one of the kids kind of put their hand on the water pipe and it caused an issue that eventually leaked into the base. And as they're in there trying to fix it, eventually the whistle's blown on the whole operation. And they're trying to get in there. I think they get their hands on a couple of our guys. I didn't talk too much about what's been going on with Will and his development this season. I said he could see through the eyes of Vecna. He could see through the eyes of some of the victims and the Demigorgons. He's also had kind of a special friendship with the local DJ who is helping him become more himself. But anyway, eventually the Upside Down opens up and Demigorgons are all around. And the kids that were captured tried to tell them that they were in danger. And the military's like, we got this. This is why they're here, yada, yada, yada. Now that these creatures are here, I put in my notes that are they going to keep that same energy now that these monsters are here? And it just becomes this big battle with the Demigorgons. Eventually, Vecna comes out himself, but I'll get to that in just a moment. There's a lot of humor that takes place in a lot of like dark times in this show as well. Like the whole place could be coming apart, and there's this moment where there's like a stupid joke and things, and I'm like, is this really the time? Like the whole town's been taken over by Demigorgons, and you're sitting here making jokes. You could die in this moment. Also, there was a little moment with Will and Mike in the previous season where he kind of looked at him a certain type of way. And I was like, wait, does Will have a thing for Mike? And I think there was a moment where Will and Mike were talking. And I can't think, this is one of those moments where I forget the name of a character, but the DJ was watching, and I was like, oh, she sees it. So it's true. It doesn't look like Will likes Mike. Also, Max explains herself about what Henry's up to, and she tells her story to Molly in Henry's prison. She tells a story that she was trying to find a way out of there. And there was a moment where she found her way to the end. And this is the part that always angers me about shows. It's like you get to a point where the door's right there. Why aren't you sprinting to get there right then and there? No, you stand there and watch it for minutes, 5 minutes. Okay, as soon as she starts to step up, the music stops, the portal closes, and she's stuck there. And maybe if she sprinted forward, she would have made it. But instead, she decided to stand there and watch. Unbelievable. But we get this big finale. The Demogorgons versus the military. And the Demogorgons are winning. They have been unleashed on all of Hawkins. Meanwhile, Hopper, being the action hero he is and 11 have their own mission in the Upside Down. They infiltrate the main base, trying to get to Sarah Connor, aka Linda Hamilton. Or actually, they're trying to get to what's behind the door. Again, a battle breaks out here. One of the soldiers that survived the wall attack with Hopper and 11 earlier, Hopper has a showdown with him. And obviously, if he stayed alive, this showdown had to happen. Again, they have the sound wave things going, so 11 is neutralized. Eventually, Hopper is just grabbed by something with tentacles that just has him by the neck. And that's her torture method, to try to get some information from him, but he isn't talking. Again, big bad Hopper, the action star. Eventually she sees 11 staggering out there, and big bad action hero Hopper was able to push the button to get his way out of it. And eventually he takes control of the situation. They have this sad moment where it looks like Hopper is going to sacrifice himself. He's covered in like explosives, and I figured somebody was gonna die this season. I was like, I'm pretty sure if I had to pick who's gonna die this season of the main group, is gonna be Hopper, right? He's got to have that hero's death, and I thought this was the moment, but it didn't happen. And he opens the door. He comes back later, and there's the big reveal of what's in there. It's I think her reveal is number 8, right? We saw her in the previous season when they met, and that's all with that. Meanwhile, back to the attack with Vecna and Hawkins. Vecna comes out himself, and he is like Darth Vader here. I mean, he's got force powers. He can't be shot. He can't, nothing. He's invincible in this moment. He gives a big speech to Will about why he got him, why he chose him, and why he chooses the kids. Is because they're weak. Basically, that was his pitch to Will, and he does what he does, being this all-powerful thing, gets what he wants, and then he leaves. And then Will has his flashback, and he hears what the DJ was telling him in his head. And I was like, oh my, and I said this before it happened, is Will about to get powers? I know he's about to have a moment here. Is he about, but I felt like the only way he was going to be able to do anything in this situation is if he had powers. And all of a sudden, he has these cloudy eyes, and he has like the power to like stop the Demogorgons in their tracks. And he's just throwing his hands out there. Boo. Over this way. Boom. Looks up. And just, he has control over all the Demogorgons. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this show? What is this show? This is turning into a Marvel movie all of a sudden. Will saves the day at that moment, gets some kind of powers, and that's the way this episode ends. Now, the action was kind of awesome. It still wasn't anything like spectacular to me. I still give this episode only a 7.1 for solid. But the action scenes are pretty good in the show. They're enjoyable. I care about these characters because I've taken this ride with them this long. So I want to see it through. But the show just, it is, I can't explain it. It's not the same show anymore. It doesn't feel that way anymore. Will is now this superpower being as well. So what, is he going to become something like Vecna? But on the light side, he's the Anakin. Not, I'd say he's going to be like Anakin Skywalker or something, the chosen one. But yeah. So final wrap up of this this volume of episodes. I just think this show is gone to a place that is just wild. It's entertaining. I'm not saying it's not. When Will got his powers, I was like, man, this thing is taking a turn. And there's just so much going on this season. And it's just, I think it's going to be a fun ending. I still think maybe they could save it and make this thing incredible. But it's not the show that it once was to me. That's my personal opinion about it. It's not the show that it once was. And if I had no ties to this show, if I didn't love some of the previous seasons so much, I probably wouldn't care about the show. However, I do want to see how this story ends. And again, they can still save it somehow. I don't know how. They probably won't. But there's still episodes left, so there's still hope. So I can't do a full review of the season yet because we still got episodes to go. But if the show was to end where it was right now, it would be at a 6.8 for solid. And how I do my score when it comes to TV, I average all the episodes together. And it can earn up to 1 bonus point if like I scored an episode like low and then it comes back later that, you know what, that episode was actually a big part of the season. That's one example where I could add up to 1 extra bonus point. It doesn't have to be a full point, is it? I have up to 1 point that I can add, but it can be like 0.5, 0.3, 0.1 if I wanted to as well. It goes from 0 to 1 as far as bonus points are concerned. Or if there's something that's just so special happens. Let's say we get to the finale, and the finale is just like the greatest thing I've ever seen. Then I can add a bonus point for that. That's something that I sometimes add bonus points for as well. So, for example, like I said, where we stand right now, the show's at a 6.8. If I wanted to add 0.7 to that bonus points, I could. If I wanted to add the full 1, it'd be a 7.8. You know, that's how the bonus point system works. And it usually works more on TV. I don't usually use bonus points for when I'm watching movies. But yeah, this show is taking a turn, and like I said, it's fun to watch, sort of. It's fun to see where the characters go. It's one of those things that's kind of turned into somewhat of a disaster, but it's a fun disaster, you know? And I'm not saying it's a disaster that is bad to watch. I'm saying it's kind of a disaster story-wise. Because story-wise, I don't know how any of this kind of makes sense. But I guess we'll find out. So this has been a pretty long, hefty review. The first half of Stranger Things. I will be back on this show when it's completely released in the new year. And I will give you my final score, my final verdict on Stranger Things Season 5. Until next time, I am JohnHexx, and I am out.